My name is Marjie McWilliams, and I'm the Director of Prayer Team Ministries at Real Life Church in Sacramento. And I am teaching a real life class at Real Life Church in Sacramento, and it's called You Are a Mighty Warrior. It's 9 weeks long, and some of my students can't be there on Tuesday nights and really are sad that they can't be there, and so they asked me to make YouTube videos so that they could watch it at their leisure, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm excited about this. I've never done this before. This is probably my 5th take, and what I've learned so far about making YouTube videos is that they can't be too long, so I'm going to have to break this up into segments, probably 10-minute segments. So as you watch these videos, this is going to be You Are a Mighty Warrior Part 1A, and at the end of 10 minutes I have to break, and then we'll look for You Are a Mighty Warrior Part 1B, and then after 10 minutes I have to break again, and then you'll look at You Are a Mighty Warrior Part 1C, and so forth. So that's how we're going to do this. We're going to break it up like that. It's easier for me to edit smaller sections anyway, so okay. And so I'm just going to do it in one take, and so you're going to hear maybe the phone ring, the dog bark, my neighbor's doing some heavy construction on his house across the street, and the window's open. So this is real life, this is real video, this is how it would be if you were in one of my classes in person anyway. I make a lot of mistakes, you know. Okay, so this particular study, You Are a Mighty Warrior, has captivated me. I have been teaching Bible studies for decades, and this one has totally shaken up my life and revised the way I think about myself, the way I look at my place in life, and I pray that it will do the same thing for you. Tonight we are going to look at the fact that a mighty warrior knows and believes who they are in Christ Jesus. Now, knowing and believing are two separate things, as you probably already know. We can have something in our head, but it takes a while to trickle down into our hearts. So the theme for tonight is that a mighty warrior knows and believes who they are in Christ Jesus. In this 9-week study, we're going to be looking at the story of Gideon in Judges chapters 6, 7, and 8. And each week we will take a portion of that study and learn what changes and what adjustments we need to make into our mindsets to become a mighty warrior. Now, originally, I have to say this, the name of this class was Becoming a Mighty Warrior. But what I've learned through this study that's so exciting is that we already are, before we do anything, before anything's been justified, before we prove ourselves, we already are mighty warriors in God's eyes. Before you do anything, I want to say right now, you are a mighty warrior right now. So I changed the name of the whole course from Becoming a Mighty Warrior to You Are a Mighty Warrior. There's an extraordinary YouTube video out by Graham Cook, and it's called Persona of Heaven. I've watched that video now probably 14 times, and it has had a profound influence in my life, and it weaves itself beautifully in and out of this story that we're going to be going through for the next 9 weeks. So along with the Bible, along with life experience, I'm using Graham Cook's video and teaching, Persona of Heaven, to weave his philosophies and his study and his wisdom through this Bible study. Graham Cook says that our identity is key to everything. We filter everything, the world, events, experiences, and circumstances through the lens of who we think we are. Now, many times our filter, or the lens that we are watching ourselves and looking at life through, is dirty, it's cloudy, it's out of focus, it's not focused properly, and we have to have either a lens change or a lens adjustment. Again, our identity is key to everything. If we look at ourselves and we look at life through a defeatist lens, through a lens of lack of self-worth, if that's how we view ourselves, then that is how life is going to come to us. Now, when Jesus asked the disciples, "Who do you say I am?" the answers were interesting. Some say you are John the Baptist, some say you're Elijah, some say you're Jeremiah the prophet, but when pressed, Peter says, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Yes, right. That explained beautifully Jesus' persona in heaven, not his personality, which is a different thing, as we will find out. In Luke 4:16-21, Jesus reads from Isaiah, which again states exactly who he is. He says, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. I am anointed to preach to the poor, set the captives free, make the blind see, release the oppressed, and to proclaim the year of favor." He knew who he was. He knew his divine persona, and he walked in it. The lens that he looked through at life was through the lens of who God says he was. This study of Gideon is going to show you who you really are. It won't illuminate your personality. It will show you your true persona, how God sees you. We're going to activate or flip the switch in your heart as to that new woman you are, the new woman who's been crucified with Christ. Now, this switchover, this shift for you from walking as a woman who has low self-esteem to walking in this new persona of Christ doesn't usually happen overnight. Sometimes it can, but most of the time it's a slower process. Like with Gideon, he had to have experiences and relationship built with God so that he could trust this new identity and step into it. And that's usually the way it happens. Gideon had to have a radical overhaul done to his belief system in order to step into his role. I believe the same thing is true for us. So let's get started. Judges 6, verses 1-6. The Israelites did evil in the sight of the Lord, and for 7 years he gave them into the hands of the Midianites. Because the power of Midian was so oppressive, the Israelites prepared shelters for themselves in mountain clefts, caves, and strongholds. Whenever the Israelites planted their crops, the Midianites, Amalekites, and other eastern peoples invaded the country. They camped on the land and ruined the crops all the way to Gaza and did not spare a living thing for Israel, neither sheep, nor cattle, nor donkeys. They came up with their livestock and their tents like swarms of locusts. It was impossible to count them or their camels. They invaded the land to ravage it. Midian so impoverished the Israelites that they cried out to the Lord for help. So the first question that comes to mind is, how did Israel become so oppressed? And the answer is in the first line of what I just read. They did evil in the eyes of the Lord. What was it that they did? Well, we know that God commanded them, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me," not to make any idols. And they had done that. They took the gods of the local people and they incorporated it with the worship of Jehovah God. They also did not trust him to provide for them or to supply their needs. They were not believing he alone was Jehovah God. So essentially, they were breaking a few of the 10 Commandments. Now, we don't know if there was adultery going on or lying or not keeping the Sabbath. Probably. But the results were 7 years under the oppression of the hand of the Midianites. They were forced to hide, they planted crops, and then they were invaded. Nothing was spared, no living thing. The Midianites were like locusts, and Israel was in poverty and fear. And you can see from verse 6 what they did to take the first step in reconciliation. They cried out to God. When we cry out to God, God will answer and respond. We know this from personal experience as well as from biblical examples. So let's see how God answers their cries. And this is going to be the end of part 1. So take a break, get a cup of coffee, come back, and we'll look at You Are a Mighty Warrior, part 1b.